and welcome to the 12th episode of Mixed Media Reviews Season 3. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie. This week's movie is Love at First Sight. It's on Netflix. I had seen this pop up on Netflix a few times, but didn't really feel like watching it. You know how it is. You gotta be sometimes in the mood for certain movies. That is until a few days ago when two things happened. The first being that I realized that Jameela Jamil was in it, so of course I'm gonna watch that. And then the second was that it was somewhat a cool evening for late September, maybe early October. But it was a rainy evening, and a romantic comedy with a mug of pumpkin spice hot chocolate was exactly what I wanted in that moment. So it really was just the perfect movie for, that vibe. This episode is going to have some spoilers, but I think they're going to be more generic. Like, you expect a rom-com to go a certain way, so a lot of the things I say may not be necessarily surprising since, there's the formula that this follows. But I will try not to mention some of the big points and in too much detail, so those things won't be spoiled. IMDb has the following summary. Hadley and Oliver begin to fall for each other on their flight from New York to London. The probability of ever finding each other again seems impossible, but love and London may have a way of defying the odds. Sounds like a typical rom-com, right? Well, you're wrong, so let's dive in. Yes, it's probably not very surprising anymore that I am a sucker for a good rom-com. This much is very much true about me. I don't know why I said it like that. That was really weird, but it's fine. But I am typically aware of how well, or rather how not well done they are. There are some that come along that I feel are absolutely wonderful, and this is one of them. I'm not saying that this is necessarily reinventing the genre here, but it was really well done. First up, it's genuinely just cute. The two main actors, Haley Lou Richardson and Ben Hardy, play Hadley and Olive respectively. I think they have great chemistry and in general are just really fun, cute characters. Jameela Jamil plays the narrator of fate, popping up in moments the main characters need her, and in times when we, the audience, need a little bit of statistics, which makes sense because Oliver, our main male character, loves statistics, so she fits right in. And Jameela really is fantastic in this movie. She has great facial expressions, so really when she pops up as a different character, she's really embodying that character while still embodying fate. It's really, she's fantastic. I love her, and I hope we see her more. I mean, we are seeing her more, so I'm here for it. The characters are, of course, a bit of the typical over kind of caricaturization. They're an over caricature. I can't even words, guys. Let's try that again. The characters are, of course, a bit of that typical over caricaturization type. Where they're a bit more of a caricature of a person than an actual person. But in this case, I don't really mind it. Yes, Oliver is not a spur-of-the-moment type of guy. He's a numbers guy, a plan-ahead kind of guy. But we do end up finding why he's exactly like that. And it doesn't feel as superficial as some of the romantic comedies can make this kind of a stereotype of a character feel, if that makes sense. Like in a Hallmark movie, there are definitely characters who are there to fill a certain stereotype, right? And it doesn't really feel very real. It seems very shallow. The characters are, what they are, and they have their arc, and, it's the girl from the city moves to the country and falls in love with the country type of a thing. So it's still kind of like that, but I feel like the way that they play, not only is the acting, no offense, typically it's better than the typical Hallmark movie, but I think the way that they reveal why he feels this way to us, the audience, as kind of a little bit of an insight into it, rather than it just being, spelled out for her and us at the same time. and then like we later on she gets to kind of see why he's like this. I think it works better and makes it feel less superficial. We see him over time, begin to take more chances, and it's part of his journey. And again, in the end, we see his growth and how that genuinely helps him, and not just to get the girl, which I think is also important. That it's more than just about him finding this journey to this girl, like a typical rom-com or something, but it's him finding himself as well and finding a better way to maybe accept the things he can't necessarily change around him. And of course, to balance it out, we have Hadley, who's the kind of a bit of a mess type, who's always late and always has a dead phone. And while we don't really see her get necessarily more organized, we do see it end up benefiting Hadley, and we see it used as a tool for her human connections. And again, it's not just seen with Oliver, but it's with her other relationships as well. We see that, a dead phone or how do I say it? If I trying to be a little bit vague about what happens, but basically we see her inability to ever be on time or be in a place she's supposed to be at the time she's supposed to be, ends up working in her benefit when it means that she's able to make a connection with somebody that she wasn't able to previously do if she had been on time or, in a place where she should have been at the time she was supposed to be in. I also really liked that these other connections to Hadley and Oliver hadn't really felt secondary. Yes, we know that this is a rom-com and ultimately the story is about the love between the two people, but the other stories that pop up, the ones with their families, also feel very much important and integral to the story. They play big roles in, not only their respective stories, but in the other stories as well. They also had some great foreshadowing moments. Of course, Hadley's phone is a big one, but they also had other moments as well. The speech he's writing, the use of statistics throughout, Hadley forgetting her bag at the airport with Oliver going back to grab it, the ending of the rom-com that they watch on the plane in contrast with the ending of the actual movie. And I think there are more, but I didn't write them all down. So it was kind of nice to see that, obviously when people write, they tend to make sure that little bits, a good writer tends to make sure that there's little bits of the ending in the beginning and strung throughout so that it makes a more cohesive feeling of a story. And so this was nice because we saw little bits and pieces that happened in the beginning that get picked up throughout the story and even picked up at the end as well. The dialogue also didn't feel very stiff. The characters also had really great chemistry, and that's not just Oliver and Hadley, but Oliver's parents were like couple goals, like they were really cute and you could, feel the chemistry coming from them. Everything that happened too felt right. The flow of the movie was really good. I liked the way that things happened. I liked how things got wrapped up and that, there weren't these crazy dramatic turns of events that made you question everybody's motives. The tropes were of course there, but they just didn't feel like they were being added just to have it. There wasn't the huge miscommunication, which is certainly the worst trope to ever have. It's always super strung out when you're just screaming at the screen or your book and just telling them just tell the other person and everything will be fixed. But then they never do, and then it makes you angry. But this didn't have those types of things, and so it was really good. This movie was really cute and it was to the point. And it was certainly a movie I could rewatch. And that's why I feel yes, this was a rom-com, but I think it's one of the better rom-coms that have come out. It seems like a lot of the rom-coms are being not really made for movie theaters anymore, right? A lot of people I think are not going to movie theaters in general as much. And they certainly aren't going to spend that extra $1 million that it costs to go see a movie to watch a rom-com on the screen. But those are, kind of reserved for more special or bigger movies that you'd have to go see, that you're dying to watch. But I think that means that there's been kind of a decline almost, or maybe it's an oversaturation. I can't speak today. There's an oversaturation of these streaming movies that are rom-coms, and they tend to come off a bit more on the Hallmarky kind of a side, which isn't, necessarily a bad thing, because everybody loves to watch just a movie that you don't really have to think a lot and it follows your formula. And I get that's why a lot of the fantasy romances are getting big right now, and all of that. And that's okay. It has its place. But I feel like a lot of the really good rom-coms that we were seeing before aren't as common anymore. And so I felt like this one finally kind of brought us back to a place where it was a good movie. Like, in general, it was a good movie. And yes, it followed the rom-com formulas and it had the tropes, but they did it really well. And they did it to a point that wasn't super cringy, too. So yeah, that's why I feel like it's not just another rom-com, But you guys let me know how you felt about it. I don't think that I have any critiques, really. Again, I think they did a fantastic job, romantic comedy or not aside. Not every movie has to be, the cinematic masterpiece or reinvent the wheel or even stand up to the Bechdel test, because I don't know if she really had a conversation with another girl in this movie. But it wasn't in a bad way, I guess, because, this movie had a very limited cast and just really focused on our two main characters and their families. So there weren't a lot of extra friends or other people involved. And what else could you really ask for a cute 90-minute romantic comedy? If you love rom-coms, I think you'll like this one too. Probably love it too. But if you don't, you probably still won't, because it is still a romantic comedy. But if you're okay with them, then I think you'll like it, because I think it was really cute and really well done. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Love at First Sight on Netflix. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at Mixed Media Reviews Podcast. Please leave me a comment to let me know if you agreed or if you have any suggestions. You can also find me anywhere you find your podcast, probably. Please join me next time, where I'm going to be reviewing a couple of books that I got from Comic-Con that are out now, and maybe a third if I can finish it before then. At the very least, I will be talking about, I don't know why I said it like that, Medusa's Sisters by Lauren J.A. Baer and Bite Risk by S.J. Wills. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye!